You've checked your bank account 3 times today, not because you're expecting a deposit, not because you forgot the balance. You check because somewhere deep in your nervous system, there's a quiet alarm that never fully turns off. Even when the numbers look fine, even when you've done everything right. Most people would call this anxiety. Some would call it being responsible. A few might even call it paranoid, but none of those words get to the actual mechanism underneath. The reason why some people can have 6 months of expenses saved and still feel like they're one mistake away from collapse, while others seem to coast through life with financial ease even when their situation is objectively more precarious. This isn't about how much money you have. It's about something far more persistent. We're talking about people who never feel financially secure, not because they lack resources necessarily, but because their internal system for detecting safety is calibrated to a different frequency. And most explanations for this behavior get it wrong. They reduce it to discipline problems, scarcity mindset, or generalized anxiety. But there's a deeper architecture at work here, one rooted in how your brain learned to interpret the world long before you ever opened a bank account. Research in neuroscience shows that our sense of security isn't determined by objective reality. It's mediated by the anterior cingulate cortex and the amygdala, regions that are constantly scanning for threat and uncertainty. For some people, these systems develop a baseline setting that treats financial stability as temporary by default, not because the data supports that conclusion, but because early experiences taught them that safety is always conditional. This often begins in childhood, not always through poverty, though that's one pathway. Sometimes it's subtler. Maybe you grew up watching a parent obsess over money in ways that felt disproportionate to the actual danger. Maybe your family experienced a sudden loss, a job, a medical crisis, a divorce that flipped everything overnight. Or maybe money was simply never discussed, leaving you to navigate the adult world without a map, constantly guessing whether you're doing it right. What happens in those environments is that your nervous system adapts. It learns that financial calm is a prelude to chaos. That comfort is a setup. And once that wiring is in place, it doesn't just vanish when your circumstances improve. You can earn more, save more, invest wisely, and still feel like you're standing on a trapdoor. This is not irrational. It's not a cognitive distortion that needs to be corrected. It's a survival strategy. Your brain is doing exactly what it was trained to do. Prepare for the worst so you're never caught off guard. And in some contexts, that vigilance has probably saved you. It's kept you employed when others were careless. It's made you prudent when others were reckless. It's turned you into someone who doesn't take stability for granted, which, in a world that rarely rewards complacency, is not a small thing. But here's what no one tells you. This kind of financial hypervigilance doesn't exist on a moral spectrum. It's not superior to being relaxed about money, and it's not inferior. It's just different wiring, shaped by different inputs. Some people's brains learned that money is a tool. Yours learned that money is a buffer against disaster. Neither perspective is wrong. They're just solving for different problems. And there's a paradox buried in this. The very thing that makes you feel unsafe, that constant, low-grade financial dread, is often what makes you more financially stable than people who feel secure. You save more. You plan further ahead. You avoid risks that others take without thinking twice. In a strange way, your anxiety is functional. It produces the behaviors that justify not having the anxiety. But because the wiring runs deeper than the behavior, the feeling never catches up to the reality. That's the quiet cost. You can do everything right and still not feel the relief you were promised. You can hit every milestone: emergency fund, retirement account, paid off debt, and still check your balance 3 times a day, because the goal was never actually financial stability. The goal was to finally feel safe. And for some nervous systems, that feeling is always just out of reach, no matter how much evidence you accumulate. There's also a hidden strength here that gets overlooked. People who never feel financially secure tend to be extraordinarily resilient in actual crises. When the ground does shift, when the layoff happens, when the market crashes, when the unexpected expense arrives, you're not blindsided. You've been rehearsing for it. Your nervous system has been running simulations this whole time. So while others scramble to adapt, you're already 3 steps ahead because part of you has been ready for this moment all along. That doesn't make the constant vigilance easier, but it does mean something. It means your way of moving through the world isn't broken. It's adapted, shaped by experiences that taught you the ground is never as solid as it looks. And in a way, you're not wrong. The ground isn't always solid. Your nervous system just noticed that earlier than most. If this resonates, you're not alone in this. There are patterns underneath patterns, ways you've learned to be in the world that make perfect sense once you see the architecture. And understanding why you feel the way you feel doesn't erase the feeling, but it does give you a different relationship to it, one where you're not fighting yourself, just recognizing what your system is trying to do and deciding consciously how much input it gets. There's more to explore here. Other patterns, other quiet adaptations you've probably never put words to. If you're curious, stay close.